In this podcast, I explore stories of darkness from history, myth, and legend. I am Dennis Sarah, and this is Evil. This episode is brought to you by Horror Pack. We've all heard about the creepy slumber party favorite of trying to summon Bloody Mary while staring into a mirror. The legend is that if you, often on a double dog dare, enter the dark bathroom and chant Bloody Mary's name into the mirror, she will appear. Usually scratching the face of those that dare speak her name. Fun stuff we used to scare each other with, right? However, in Boston in 1882, there is the frightening case of little Brenda Hallmier. Her experience with Bloody Mary legend did not end so well. The origin of the Bloody Mary legend allegedly comes from Mary I, who was the Queen of England and Ireland from July 1553 until her death in November of 1558. Her executions of Protestants led her to be nicknamed Bloody Mary. Mary is remembered for restoring Roman Catholicism after her half-brother's short-lived Protestant reign. During her reign, Mary revived the heresy laws, which stated that a person who did not follow the faith of the realm would be burned to death. Nearly 300 men, women, and children were burned at the stake across England for not converting to Catholicism. Our story actually takes place one Saturday in early September of 1882. Three 10-year-old girls, Hannah Orson, Jana Kirkwell, and Brenda Hallmier, were staying over at Hannah's house. The three girls were going to church together that Sunday morning. They begged their parents to allow them to sleep over Hannah's house that night before. All three families were close, and the girls had been friends all their lives. No one could foresee a problem with the girls having a sleepover. The three girls were all free-spirited and loved to tease each other. It was always just for fun, whether it was giggling about boys at the church service or playing truth or dare at their sleepovers. The three always had fun in each other's company. Each had distinct personalities. Hannah was the playful comedian, perhaps even a natural-born actor. Hannah would be the one to wave at the cute boys in church and mouth the words, "She likes you," while pointing to one of her friends. Janet was the future archaeologist, smart, curious, and no fear of dirt. Her mother was always pulling Janet away from a discovery she made while ankle-deep in the mud. Brenda was the shy princess. Well, more of a shy warrior princess. She was all giggles and blushing when Hannah would point her out to the cute boys in church. However, if it was a boy she liked, Brenda would hold her eye contact a little longer with him. Sometimes she would hold it a little too long and get caught by her strict mother. Janet and Hannah were friends first and originally disliked Brenda. Brenda was a little princess and the boys all seemed to pay too much attention to her. However, one day at school, when a particularly mean boy was teasing Hannah, Brenda interposed herself between them. And when her natural charm did not dissuade the ruffian from picking on Hannah, Brenda split his lip with a right cross that rivaled John Sullivan's. Needless to say, the girls were inseparable from that day forward. The girls' sleepovers usually ran a predictable course. Their parents would meet for dinner and tea at the Orson residence. The fathers would retire to the smoking room after tea, consuming hand-rolled cigars and brandy while congratulating each other on being masters of their domain. The girls' mothers would drink wine while helping the girls get ready for bed. Hairbrushing and church gossip were the usual fare. When the wine and brandy ran dry, the parents would bid each other goodbye and remind the girls to behave. That's when the fun would start. The girls would first beg Hannah's mother for ice cream sundaes. They knew the wine helped Mrs. Orson be more amicable. Ice cream was almost a certainty. Once the girls had their fill of ice cream, they would go to Hannah's room. Hannah had all sorts of dolls and doll houses, The girls would play and talk and laugh for most of the evening. At some point, Hannah's parents would come by to remind the girls to turn off the lights and get some sleep before church tomorrow. At that point, Hannah, Janet, and Brenda would talk in whispers. Between the sugar high of the ice cream and just being excited to be in each other's company, they would never sleep. Sometimes the girls would play truth or dare or try to frighten each other with ghost stories. On their last slumber party, they tried both. The truth and dare went its usual course, embarrassing truths and silly dares of young girls. Its usual course, that is, until Hannah brought up the story of Bloody Mary. She had heard the story from another girl at school, and explained to Janet and Brenda that if you repeat Bloody Mary's name in the mirror, that she will reveal the face of your future husband. However, if you are destined to die before you can meet your husband, then Bloody Mary will reveal herself and attack you. Naturally, Janet was skeptical. Hannah claimed it had to be true because the girl that told her had a friend who knew of a girl who was scratched by Bloody Mary last year. Brenda was unsure, but thought it might be good for a scare if they tried together. The three girls entered the guest bedroom with 3 candles. They were not expecting anything to really happen, but it was fun to think of the scare they would feel in trying. The girls clutched each other in the dim light of the candles and stared into the mirror. Hannah counted down from 3, 2, 1. Bloody Mary, they all said at once. Nothing. Janet said, I knew nothing would happen, and they all laughed. Hannah explained they had to say it 3 times, not once. So the 3 clutched each other again and stared in the mirror. Hannah counted down again. 3, 2, 1. Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary. Brenda gasped as one of the candles went out. The other 2 gave out a low scream before placing their hands over their mouths. They all laughed and ran back to Hannah's room. Their hearts were racing, afraid Hannah's parents might have heard. They stayed still for a couple minutes, listening for any movement from the master bedroom. Nothing. Hannah's parents may have indulged on too much brandy and wine. The girls continued to speak in whispers to make sure they were not heard. They blamed each other for blowing out the candle, and at first no one confessed to it. After some goading, though, Hannah finally admitted she blew out the candle. They all laughed at how easily frightened they were at a simple prank. Hannah mentioned it was almost midnight according to the clock on the hall. They needed to get some sleep before church tomorrow. Falling asleep in church was not worth it, as Hannah could attest. Hannah looked at Brenda. Truth or dare? Brenda shot her a look back. She thought the game was over. Dare, Brenda said. She was not one to let the last truth or dare end on anything but a dare. I dare you to go back to the bathroom by yourself and blow out the remaining candles. Brenda hesitated. Janet and Hannah smirked a little. Brenda smiled and walked a confident little walk out of the bedroom door. Janet and Hannah's mouths fell open as they looked at each other. Janet tilted her head and said, Truth or dare? Hannah smiled. Truth. Did you really blow out the candle? Hannah looked Janet in the eye and shook her head. No. Brenda walked down the dark hallway. The only light to guide her was the dim candlelight from the bathroom. As she approached, the smell of the light smoke of the extinguished candle lingered in the air. Brenda hesitated in the bathroom doorway. The 2 remaining lit candles danced at her return. Brenda walked to the sink, in front of the mirror, and blew out the candle. A thin, wispy line of smoke rose from the extinguished flame. The remaining lit candle danced a little more. The shadows of the bathroom danced with the tiny flame, but something was off. Brenda saw her reflection in the mirror, and her shadow danced with the remaining tiny flame. However, an extra shadow in the mirror did not move. The shadow did not shift when the candle's flame danced. Not wanting to lose the dare, Brenda blew out the remaining candle flame and turned to leave the bathroom quickly. The bathroom door slammed shut. Hannah and Janet heard Brenda scream from the bedroom. They rushed down the hall and heard Brenda pounding on the bathroom door, and something else was moving in there. They heard it thrashing around. Then, it went silent. The girls slowly opened the door and were met only by the flickering of the one remaining candle. Nothing else remained. No Brenda. Nothing. Later, the police report stated the perpetrator must have entered the house and abducted Brenda in the night. She was never seen again. Janet and Hannah maintained that Bloody Mary had stolen Brenda and dragged her into the land of the mirror. Of course, their statements did not make it into the official police reports. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed that story. It's an original by me. As promised, this episode was brought to you by Horror Pack. Horror Pack is great. I get 4 horror movies every month. They are picked by a panel of horror film fans and filmmakers. Every month's selections are surprises. They're brand new shrink-wrap movies. You can choose either DVD or Blu-ray. And the DVD selection and the Blu-ray selection are different. So you could have both sent to your house if you like. Prices start under $20, and if you order through Evil Podcasts, you get $3 off your subscription. To get the discount, go to horrorpack.com/go/evilpodcast. Evil Podcast is one word. Or you can go to evilpodcast.com and click on the Horror Pack box. I'd like to thank those that left a 5-star review on iTunes. Looks like I'm gaining an international audience, as I had reviews from Australia, Germany, and the UK. I'm flattered and humbled by the reviews I've received. So thank you to Desert Man X, C.O. Potter, CSV 1385, and I hope I get this right, the JA1. If you can, please leave a review on iTunes. I surely appreciate it. Also, you can find past episodes on evilpodcast.com. While there, you can also buy an Evil Podcast t-shirt. I mean, who doesn't want my face on their shirt, right? Evil Podcast does need your support. So if you enjoyed these episodes, please go to patreon.com/evilpodcast or follow the link from evilpodcast.com. I ask you, please pledge as little as $1 a month to keep Evil Podcast lights on. I do appreciate it. Again, thank you for listening to this episode. And please, be good.